Hello world! Welcome and welcome back to the channel, where today I'm breaking out the good old sketchbook for the first time in forever and drawing a spread of some of my comfort characters. Because last week I had one of the worst days of my life and I need all the help I can get to calm myself down. I haven't drawn traditional art in so long, but honestly taking a break from digital art for a little bit was appreciated after what I've been through, and during the process of me filling this spread, I wanted to share some of the things that helped me cope with this situation that had me in so much turmoil, because maybe someone else might find it helpful too. So, with that out of the way, let's start! To give a brief overview of my 22-hour-long nightmare, I had stored my files from my current computer onto a cloud service that I just bought, and was accessing some of those files while editing a big video project. But as I was working, I started running into issues with not being able to access the files I needed in that moment, and it was spreading to different files that I stored as well that I could once access before, which made me terrified that my files were being corrupted just by having them on this cloud storage. Fortunately, it all ended up working out. My files have not been corrupted, and there was just an unexpected technical error on their side that was causing some users temporary issues with accessing their files, and after they fixed the problem, everything was back to normal as if nothing ever happened. I definitely had a lot going on in my head during that time that I was thinking about turning into a video just to vent about everything that was going on, because this specific problem I was having directly affected my art and original stories by way of those files that I had transferred. This original intention began to change over time as more developments took place while I was still in crisis mode, and even after I made it to the other side of this horrible experience, I still really wanted to make this video even if it changed quite a bit from my original idea. I hope my tips can be useful to anyone dealing with stress of their own, and if you have your own coping methods that I didn't mention in this video, feel free to drop them in the comments. Tip number 1. Identify what's causing your stress. This may sound deceptively straightforward when you think about it. Obviously, it's the situation you're in that's making you stressed, right? However, there's more to it than that. Why do you care so much about this thing you're going through that's having such an impact on your well-being? When something is going wrong in a specific area in your life, what sets it apart as a panic-inducing moment rather than just a frustrating inconvenience? In my situation, buying this storage plan was a huge step forward in achieving the workspace of my dreams, but that dream was becoming a nightmare when I started believing that all this artwork, story drafts, and inspirational media that I transferred onto air to access whenever I want was now going to be lost. Creating stories and art has been at the core of my identity for my whole life, and from the time I was a little kid, my biggest fear as a young artist was that a virus would permanently wipe out every one of my Word documents for all my novel ideas, or that someone would hack my computer and steal all those files with no way for me to get them back. So at the time, I felt like this worst case scenario I've had for almost 2 decades was finally coming to life as a direct consequence of a choice I made that I thought would help me. On top of that, this cloud service I had bought was the most expensive purchase I have made to date, and the day this started happening just so happened to be the last day before the refund policy expired. So that was a lot of additional pressure, as I felt like I was running out of time to get my money back and was at a loss on how to move forward with my situation that was starting to change gradually and getting harder to understand as the day went on, because any choice I could think of had the potential to completely blow up in my face, and all I could think about was how much time I was wasting and how powerless I felt to do anything proactive about what was going on. Also, don't underestimate the impact of other pressures in your life and how they could be affecting your reaction to this specific problem, because those can cause you to be hit even harder by your current situation. Maybe you endured something similar in your past and you opened up to someone who was dismissive about what you were going through, or you have previous trauma from being unfairly disciplined or scapegoated whenever things would go wrong. If your current situation happened to crop up while you were sick or had other issues on your plate, then this new stressor on top of everything else may be enough to push you over the edge. Another underrated but important thing to remember is that something doesn't have to happen to you directly for it to have an impact on you emotionally, so having another person you care about go through a difficult time, or even just watching the news, can really burn your wick short and leave you feeling ill-equipped to handle anything else, especially if you identify as an empath or HSP. You might even think your emotions are wrong or that you're overreacting, which could make you feel even worse and contribute to your stress. Taking a critical look at why you're feeling stressed in this situation and learning the exact reason why is a big first step in finding a coping method, which leads me to my second point. Understand how you react to difficult situations and use that to help you handle your stress. So I wanted to steer away from giving specific advice as much as I could in this video because of how situational such advice can be when considering the different ways people respond when they're going through a tough time. When you know that stressful situations can one-hit KO all of your spoons, then having someone tell you that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger probably isn't something you want to hear. On the flip side, if you're the kind of person who views every problem as a challenge for you to beat, you might not appreciate being instructed to just take a break and do something relaxing as a way to handle your emotions. There are so many more responses humans can have to threats and trauma than most people tend to acknowledge, with those responses including fight, flight, freeze, fawn, find, faint, flag, or fright. And taking the time to learn which of these camps you fall into can give you a clearer image of what kind of solutions apply to you, what might work better for someone else, or what could just be outright toxic. For me personally, I'm definitely the kind of person who needs to immerse myself in anything to feel better after something bad happens, and to a smaller extent, finding some way to express my feelings through some kind of writing or journaling helps too, but sometimes it just leaves me feeling stuck in that negative state of mind for even longer. It makes me feel worse. I know when all of this was going on with my files, I basically just slept all day while praying nonstop and running a full scan on my PC in the meantime because honestly that was the most I was capable of doing. Remember, diamonds form under pressure and dough forms when at rest, so different methods work for different people. Tip number 3. Avoid using destructive patterns to cope. This ties into the previous point. When you're going through a bad time, it can be tempting to use it as an excuse to self-coddle or unload your negativity onto someone else, but as much as you can, try not to fall into a trap of relying on maladaptive or antisocial behavior to solve your problems. It shouldn't take a lot of convincing that handling stress by lashing out at anyone who's in your way isn't productive. It just creates an Ouroboros cause and effect cycle of negativity and leaves you feeling like an ugly person in the end. Not to mention being a jerk to the wrong person is a good way to end up having Dr. Grande speculating about what could be happening in a situation like yours. That being said, it's important to be aware of and steer clear of any strategies that are destructive to yourself, particularly if these strategies are rooted in what's causing the problem or will exacerbate any physical symptoms caused by your stress. For example, if your stress is tied to you spending a lot of money that you can't get back on a product that created more problems for you, engaging in retail therapy wouldn't be a good solution. Or if the amount of stress you're carrying is making you feel ill, ignore the urge to reach for some comfort food. Tip number 4. Remember your other achievements. When you feel trapped in a stressful situation, it can be all too easy to feel like a self-insert character at Alexander in the terrible, horrible, no-good, very bad day. So you can try keeping yourself grounded by bringing to mind the times things worked out for you, no matter how far away they were or how insignificant they might be to someone else. Before everything with my files broke out, I had just caught a golden stag in Animal Crossing New Horizons for the first time since I started playing the game at launch, and I was able to donate it and complete not just the book exhibit but my entire museum as a whole. So even though afterwards I was pretty much bedridden from an all-day anxiety attack, at least I had that going for me. For you, those good memories or accomplishments might sound like, I had a cool dream the other night, I don't have a stuffy nose right now, I got a good grade on an assignment, or I finally caught up on One Piece. Even if the only thing you got done was that you remembered to brush your teeth or take a shower today, give yourself credit for that. You can even use the anticipation of future events to reassure you, like, tomorrow is the day that my favorite YouTuber will post a new video, or next weekend I'm going to visit my friend that I haven't seen in a long time. Tip number 5. Keep a balanced view of yourself. This can manifest in 2 ways. Either you claim too much responsibility for whatever is going wrong and blaming yourself for every little thing even if the problem is outside of your control, or you don't take any responsibility for what's happening and maintain the stance of being a helpless victim of bad fortune while ignoring any role you had to play in your situation. It can be easier said than done, but maintaining an objective self-image is a crucial skill to learn, and having that ability will definitely help keep you grounded in times of crisis. Not only that, but if this stressor is a problem that you need to go to other people for help, keeping a balanced view of yourself as you're explaining your situation and how it's affecting you will give the person you're talking to a clear idea of what's happening and how to approach the issue. Otherwise, if you're dipping into one of these 2 extremes, or adding or cutting out certain details to make yourself look a certain way, then the person getting involved might feel confused or even manipulated. Tip number 6. Don't keep your feelings inside. I kind of alluded to this in my previous tip, but this is a little more nuanced than just tell someone about what's happening. Of course, if you have an outlet where you can talk about your situation, definitely take that option, as not only may there be someone who knows how to help you overcome that thing that's causing you stress, but just having your thoughts and feelings written out in front of you or hearing them out loud can help you process what's going on and better understand your emotions. However, you may unfortunately be in a situation where opening up about the specific issue that's causing your stress may jeopardize your security, or you may have just had a bad experience opening up to someone who minimized your problems or wouldn't understand what you were going through. Whatever the case may be, you might not have another person to talk about what's causing your stress, but don't let that keep you from finding other ways to release those emotions. And that can look like journaling, praying, talking to your plants or your pet about what's bothering you, or imagining yourself opening up to your comfort character. You may also choose to express yourself through more creative ways, like writing your feelings in a song, making a story where a character goes through a similar experience, or drawing some vent art. My 7th and final tip is it's normal to not feel happy even after the problem is fixed. It's one thing if the problem has permanent repercussions or is only over when there's nothing you can do to fix it, in which case, yeah, in all likelihood you're going to feel pretty bummed out after all that. But what if everything goes exactly the way you wanted in the end? Sometimes there is a fairy tale solution to the thing that's causing your stress, and when that happens, you might feel like you should be ecstatic, except you're not. Don't worry if this describes your experience, because it's not uncommon to have this kind of response. As mentioned earlier, everyone has different ways of reacting to big changes, and there's no point in allowing yourself to be compared to another person just for following your own survival instincts. Maybe after this stressful situation has finally been resolved, you don't feel anything at all because the fact that everything worked out doesn't seem real to you. You might still feel uneasy and be left with trust issues after what happened, or depending on how easily the problem was fixed, you might even be angry or being so stressed out over something that wasn't as dire as you thought it would be. It's okay to feel any of those things after coming off of such an emotionally demanding event, and you might just be feeling too drained to feel any sense of relief. As for me, even though all of this went down a week ago and none of my precious files were lost, I still haven't fully recovered, and I honestly don't know how I feel after everything right now. I am dealing with a lot of other stuff both physically and mentally, and have been for a long time at this point, so that's probably a big reason why I didn't have much of a reaction after it was all over. But hey, you know what else is over? This video! I hope these tips were helpful to you, and if not, I hope you enjoyed watching me draw some of my blorbos. I feel a little self-conscious just showing off a bunch of my comfort characters so casually, like what does this say about me if I like some of these weirdos? It's a little vulnerable, you know? Anyway, I'm glad to bring my zombie sketchbook closer to being filled, and now that this spread is complete, it's time for me to shut this video down. Make sure to give Boba cats and pets snacks and playtime before you log out, and head to the description of this video to find links for every other corner of cyberspace I'm on. Thanks for letting me chat with you, and until next time, may all your days be stress-free.